Warm greetings, Manhwa enthusiasts. We meet again in a world brimming with intrigue and adventure. Today, we will unfold a new chapter of the tale. The regressed son of a duke is an assassin. Prepare to be captivated by the enthralling plot and unexpected characters. So take your seat, ready your heart and mind, because our adventure's about to begin, right now. In the palace where Margaret resided, she was so enraged that she hurled the flower pot on the table to the floor. Margaret became extremely angry when she received news from her loyal servant that the knight she had assigned to eliminate Cyan was found lifeless, while Cyan was still alive to this day. The servant then apologized to Margaret for failing to carry out the mission given to him. The servant believed that someone was aiding Cyan and asked Margaret for another chance to eliminate Cyan by sending someone to the academy. However, Margaret requested not to take such drastic action, as she was still considering the fate of her child, Kranz, who could be harmed by Cyan at any time while at the academy. Margaret instructed her servant to keep the incident a secret from everyone and to eliminate as soon as possible anyone who knew about it. Afterward, the servant left Margaret's room. As the servant exited and closed the door to Margaret's room, it turned out someone had overheard their conversation. Cyan, who had left the city of Saffern 10 days ago, seemed to enjoy the journey, resting inside a carriage. The remaining knight, originally tasked with eliminating Cyan and named Brian, had now become Cyan's subordinate to escort him to the Royal Academy. Cyan assumed that Margaret was aware that Cyan was still alive, and he was still contemplating what to do with the person named Brian later on. Then, the carriage arrived at the gates of the Royal Academy, and Brian informed Cyan, who was asleep inside the carriage. Cyan went to the registration room to enroll himself, showing the badge of the Cyan Vert family. However, he was surprised to find that he had already been registered by someone else. Cyan was only asked to go to the designated dormitory and also to attend the acceptance ceremony and take the elemental test in 2 days. The academy handed over the dormitory key, but Cyan was shocked because the key he received was for the Royal Hall dormitory, a dormitory with very luxurious rooms. Cyan found it strange because no one in his family had ever been placed in the Royal Hall. He was sure that someone had instructed the academy to place him there. Seeing the luxurious Royal Hall room, Brian was awestruck with his mouth wide open, as he had never entered such a luxurious room in his life. Since Brian had successfully escorted Cyan to the academy, Cyan felt that Brian's task was completed. Cyan then took something from behind his coat. Seeing Cyan reaching behind his coat, Brian was very afraid, thinking that Cyan was going to kill him. However, Brian was greatly mistaken. Cyan actually pulled out a bag of gold coins to give to Brian. Cyan asked Brian to go anywhere because if Brian returned to Velius, his safety would be threatened. Then Brian immediately prostrated himself before Cyan, swearing as a knight to serve Cyan for the rest of his life. Cyan was surprised because he had assumed Brian was a carriage driver, given Brian's expertise in driving horse-drawn carriages. Brian explained that he was a knight of low rank, and his duty was indeed to be a carriage driver. Cyan warned Brian that he could have stabbed Brian in the back, but Brian didn't care about that because he was very certain about dedicating himself to Cyan. In the headmaster's office of the Royal Academy, Headmaster Kundel Quizel was discussing with an academy instructor named Sarika Negrithi, informing her that this year's elemental test had revealed several talented students. In the elemental test conducted in front of the class, Aaron Severus took the elemental test and had a light element of 52%. The next student, named Set Shaharkan, had a sand element of 71%. However, what surprised the headmaster was the result of the elemental test conducted by Cyan because he had a darkness element of 92%. Even Alice Vert, Cyan's sister, who is also known as God's child, only had 88% water element when she graduated, said Instructor Sarika. The Academy's headmaster praised Cyan's talent because Alice was no match for Cyan. Instructor Sarika was very worried because the dominant element in Cyan was the element of darkness. The headmaster then asked the instructor why Cyan was in the Royal Hall. Instructor Sarika had only heard the information and did not know why Cyan could be in the Royal Hall. Instructor Sarika was very surprised when the headmaster informed her that Cyan was there by the Emperor's command. It seems that Cyan had saved the princess from monsters on the front lines and there was even consideration of marrying the two. The fifth princess, deemed a failure, will marry a member of the Verts who have never failed to guide talented individuals, said the headmaster to instructor Sarika. However, the headmaster also asked the instructor what the consequences would be if Princess Aren and Cyan were to marry. Instructor Sarika replied that it would cause internal conflict and could trigger a new civil war. The instructor was very afraid to imagine if that happened. Then, the headmaster asked instructor Sarika not to worry too much about it because neither the headmaster nor the instructor could do anything but watch whether Cyan would become a hero of the Empire or bring about its destruction. Back to Cyan, he was still pondering the elemental test result that reached 92%. Confused because in his previous life he could only achieve 80%, he thought his abilities had increased after drinking the blood of a demonic beast. Suddenly, two people appeared before Cyan, Krantz, and Popper Penneron, with Popper Penneron being the son of Marquis Penneron from the Kingdom of Garum. In his previous life, Cyan was always harassed by them, always tormented by them. However, Cyan felt fortunate to meet them again in this current life. Cyan's eyes immediately turned red. He was very eager to take revenge on Popper for what he had done in the past. Unaware of Cyan's current strength, Popper intended to beat him up. Krantz forbade Popper from doing so, but Popper ignored him because Krantz had seen Cyan's red eyes. Popper, intending to hit Cyan, was instead thrown off when kicked by Cyan, his larger body easily taken down by Cyan. After knocking down Popper, Cyan invited Krantz to talk. Krantz was terrified of the figure of Cyan in front of him, sweating profusely on his face. Cyan informed Krantz that he was aware of the vile plan Krantz had devised, but Cyan still forgave Krantz's actions. Then Cyan threatened that if Krantz tried to harm Cyan again, Cyan would ensure Krantz lost a limb upon graduation. Krantz cried out of sheer terror, and Cyan left Krantz wallowing in his sorrow, enjoying his life at the academy once again. In the library reserved for instructors, Sarika was still pondering the headmaster's words and paying extra attention to Cyan. Sarika searched for a book on the shelf, but the book she was looking for was not there. Suddenly, Cyan appeared from behind and handed Sarika the book she was looking for. Sarika was shocked by Cyan's arrival because she did not sense his presence. Sarika asked Cyan to hand over the book he was holding because Sarika needed it for her research. Cyan gave the book to Sarika, but suddenly Sarika cut the book, destroying it. Initially, Cyan addressed Sarika as an instructor, but Cyan knew that Sarika Negrithi was the leader of the assassin organization Mist. In Cyan's previous life, his first impression of Instructor Sarika was quite ordinary. Instructor Sarika seemed to care for Cyan like any normal instructor would. With her sweet words, Instructor Sarika wanted to take advantage of Cyan, because in Cyan's previous life, the elemental test he underwent showed a darkness element of 84%. Cyan felt that Instructor Sarika could guide him to become even better. But Cyan was deceived by all of this. Behind the facade of wearing glasses and being a Royal Academy instructor was just a disguise. Sarika's true identity was that of an assassin. Sarika was the leader of the assassin organization Mist, hiding within the academy where the nobility of the continent gathered. Then Sarika invited Cyan to talk in her lab so that their conversation could be more detailed. Cyan was surprised because Sarika seemed quite calm facing Cyan, who already knew her true identity. When Cyan entered Sarika's lab room, not much had changed from what Cyan had seen in his previous life. Sarika offered Cyan tea, but the tea had been poisoned. That's why Sarika remained calm facing Cyan. The poison Sarika gave to Cyan did not react at all because Cyan had been trained to drink the blood of demonic beasts, and the food served by Emily felt like deadly poison. Sarika asked Cyan why he could know her true identity and find the location of the book she was looking for so precisely. Sarika continued to observe Cyan and asked him if he was also part of Mist. "Do you still need more proof?" said Cyan, while Sarika still did not believe that Cyan was also part of Mist. Sarika felt that Cyan was just being arrogant because the results of Cyan's elemental test showed high values. Then Cyan revealed that lately many nobles had died. He asked Sarika, "Since when did Sarika start the purification process ritual?" Sarika evaded Cyan's statement, not admitting that she had conducted the purification process. A black mist aura began to emanate around Cyan's body, and he asserted that Sarika's actions were an act of murder. Sarika began to look angry and threatened by saying that Cyan would regret the words he had spoken. Sarika was very angry at Cyan, kicking a table towards him. Because the table was directed at Cyan, he struck it, splitting it in two. Sarika's action triggered Cyan's anger. Sarika, who was already above Cyan's head and ready to attack Cyan with two knives held with a special mist aura. Cyan then stated that he had proven everything about his identity. Sarika still did not believe that Cyan was Mist, because as the leader of the assassin organization Mist, she felt she knew all Mist members and Cyan was not part of Mist. Sarika, blindly attacking Cyan, forced him to draw his demonic sword. Sarika slashed her dagger at Cyan, but he easily parried it with his demonic sword. Cyan counterattacked Sarika with several slashes, and although Sarika managed to block the attacks, the force of the slashes sent her flying back. Seeing Cyan wielding the demonic sword Kairam, she was shocked as only a chosen one from Eru could possess it. With the demonic sword in hand, Cyan hoped Sarika would acknowledge that he was part of Mist. Sarika still couldn't believe what she was seeing, as the members of Mist were still searching for the heir who could wield the demonic sword. Then, arrogantly, Cyan declared that the heir sought by the members of Mist was already here, and he asked Sarika to take him to meet Eru. As evening approached, Sarika led Cyan to a place on one of the streets in Lewin. They arrived at the place, which looked ordinary from the outside. Then, using her magic, Sarika opened the door. It turned out that the place was the headquarters of Mist. However, Sarika was puzzled because Cyan was completely surprised by the Mist headquarters located right in the middle of the city. Then Sarika invited Cyan to enter the room leading to the altar alone, as Sarika did not want to accompany him inside. The place that served as the headquarters of Mist appeared small from the outside because it was a unique realm created by the power of the god of fog. As Cyan walked through the room alone, he sensed the presence of others besides himself. He felt 2 people from the direction of 4 o'clock and 3 from the direction of 11 o'clock. Sure enough, suddenly daggers flew towards him from the directions Cyan had mentioned. But Cyan easily deflected those daggers. Cyan had anticipated an unwelcoming reception in the event of meeting Eru. He was attacked from various directions by the members of Mist. Cyan was attacked by 6 people at once, but he managed to parry the attacks with his dagger. The Mist members who attacked were amazed by Cyan's swordsmanship, which deflected all the daggers aimed at him. Simultaneously, the Mist members used a secret technique called the Death Horn formation to attack Cyan from various directions. But with Cyan's secret expansion technique, he successfully parried the Mist members' attacks again. The Mist members were astonished to see Cyan using Mist's secret techniques despite his young age. Without hesitation, Cyan immediately used Bloodthirst Wave, an exclusive secret technique owned by assassins. This technique allows the user to manifest their bloodlust into a physical form to attack the opponent. The members of Mist immediately felt suffocated, unable to breathe, and fell unconscious for a while. However, when Cyan looked forward, there was one person still standing after his attack. Cyan suspected that this person was a high-ranking individual there. Then Cyan used the technique Unshakable Roots of the Great Tree to attack that person, but the individual managed to stop Cyan's technique before it was released. Cyan wondered who that person was. Why could they stop a technique that Cyan possessed? That person then threw off the mask they were wearing, their dagger still holding back Cyan's. They were impatient with Cyan's actions. Cyan was shocked when he discovered that the person who had resisted his attack was Sarika. Sarika also challenged Cyan to unleash all the abilities he possessed. Then, with the technique 8 Assassination Wild, Cyan managed to distance himself from Sarika. It seems you are also skilled in using the 8 Assassination and Fog Sword techniques. You make me more interested. Show me your true potential. Before Sarika could finish speaking, Cyan had already fled from her presence. Cyan did not want to face Sarika, as Sarika was the leader of an organization that thirsted for the desire to fight. Thank you so much for watching and spending time with us today. We greatly appreciate your support and enthusiasm. Have a good rest and see you in the next episode. Keep your spirits up and don't forget to always smile. See you soon.